cheaper drug prices, and the Episcopal Church is officially racist. It's 5 in 10 from SkyWatchTV. 5 things you need to know in about 10 minutes for Tuesday, May 13th, 2025. I'm Gilbert. Item number 5 today. Donald of Arabia received a hero's welcome in Saudi Arabia on the first leg of his Middle East tour. President Trump holding bilateral meetings with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the real power in Saudi Arabia. He signed a strategic economic partnership agreement that he said could bring 2 million jobs to the United States. This is a $600 billion agreement, Saudi investment inside the United States. Now, you look at just the first 100 days that President Trump was in office, he'd already secured about $5.2 trillion in private and foreign investments in U.S. businesses that he said could create an estimated 451,000. He's looking at this deal and saying that this could be up to 2 million jobs brought to the United States. Even if those numbers are inflated, it's still better than what we were getting under the previous administration. Trump is joined on this trip by a number of cabinet members, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Energy Secretary Chris Wright, and other members of the administration and business leaders, Elon Musk, CEOs of BlackRock, Palantir, NVIDIA, OpenAI, IMB, Citibank, and more. This is a big deal, and it looks like the personal relationship between President Trump and Mohammed bin Salman is pretty strong. Topic number 4 today, Big Pharma. President Trump made this announcement on Sunday, and then yesterday, Monday, he signed a sweeping executive order setting a 30-day deadline, for drug makers, Big Pharma here in the United States, to electively, that is, willingly, lower the cost of prescription drugs here in the United States or face new limits set by the government over what the government will pay for those pharmaceuticals. The order calls on the Secretary of Health and Human Services, led by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to broker new price tags for drugs over the next month. If deals aren't reached, then Kennedy will be asked to develop a new rule that ties the price the United States pays for medications to lower prices paid in other countries. Now, the nation's pharmaceutical lobby, representing the top U.S. drug makers, pushed back, calling it a bad deal for American patients, warning that any threat to their profit margins could impact the research they do to develop new drugs. Frankly, to me, this sounds like extortion. I can say from personal experience, when Sharon and I have traveled overseas and we've needed to get even over-the-counter medications in other places, in Europe, in Israel, what we paid for the drugs there was a fraction of what we pay for the same things over here. Essentially, the pharmaceutical companies have been underwriting low prices elsewhere in the world by charging Americans inflated prices. And frankly, we buy too many drugs as it is. 4% of the world's population lives in the United States. 4% of the world's population, we consume 70% of the pharmaceuticals. Does that seem right to you? Could it be that it's because the United States is one of only 2 countries on planet Earth that allows pharmaceutical companies to advertise directly to us, the consumers? The other one being New Zealand, and based on the way they handled the COVID outbreak, I don't think New Zealand is the model that we want to follow. Let's see, Secretary Kennedy, please ban pharmaceutical advertising on our media, which would force most legacy media outlets to search for a new business model because a big percentage of their advertising revenue comes from the pharmaceuticals telling us that we've got diseases we've never heard of before that can be fixed with this new drug. Well, let's pray that President Trump is right. He said that this could lower prescription drug costs by 30 to 80%, 30 to 80% almost immediately. Topic number 3, China. The trade deal that President Trump announced over the weekend. During a press conference Monday morning, he said that the trade negotiations have led to a total reset in U.S.-China relations. He may be speaking with President Xi Jinping later this week. There were productive talks over the weekend, described as such by both Chinese and U.S. representatives, and both sides agreed to reduce tariffs imposed after April 2nd down to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue to work through specific issues. This is viewed as a breakthrough in the trade war between the two largest economies in the world. This sparked a rally in global stock markets. Frankly, the Chinese, as I said yesterday, have recognized that they can't afford a long-term trade war because they need the access to the American consumer more than we, the American consumer, need to buy cheap Chinese things. Would it result in some higher prices here? Yeah, probably, but it would also mean more people working, so we'd have more money to spend. It's a win, and the Chinese recognize it. Their manufacturing sector overproduces for its own market. It produces 30% of the world's products, but only consumes less than 18%. They've got to sell that surplus somewhere, and that somewhere is the United States, and they do it by undercutting U.S. manufacturing. And frankly, for a long time, American bankers and industrialists have been willing to let them do it because they've been making out they just don't care what happens on Main Street. Interestingly, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said in an interview Monday that he was told by Chinese negotiators that even though President Trump and President Xi had agreed to a trade deal in 2020, the last year of President Trump's first term, when Joe Biden got elected, the Chinese decided not to abide by it because they knew that Joe Biden wouldn't stand up to him or stand up to China, and so they could just ignore it. President Trump has dragged them back to the negotiating table and is getting a better deal for the American consumer. This is not what you're hearing from the legacy media, by the way, which is focusing on higher prices, unprovoked trade war. No, it's Trump derangement syndrome coloring the way they're viewing this. Finally, we've got somebody in the White House who's standing up for Americans. Topic number 2, Afrikaner refugees. White farmers, South Africans, have left their country. This was back on May 11th, granted refugee status by the Trump administration under a new policy. About 49 Afrikaners, this is an ethnic minority in South Africa, descendants of Europeans who started settling in South Africa in the 17th century. I mean, some of these folks have ancestors that have been in Africa longer than most of us white Americans have ancestors who, when our ancestors arrived here in North America. And yet, because they're a minority there and the government of South Africa has now adopted a policy of, race-based discrimination against the Afrikaners. Executive order issued by South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa called the Expropriation Act. This was signed into law in January, which allows for land owned by typically white farmers that they describe as unused or abandoned can just be seized by the government and given to other people. What the legacy media isn't telling you is that there are also Ramaphosa's party will often have political rallies at which chants of "kill the Boer," that's B-O-E-R, meaning the Afrikaners, is often heard. And there's been a pandemic of violence against white farmers in South Africa. That's why they want to get out. So they have been granted refugee status by President Trump. And again, the first group of refugees arriving here in the United States, they were flown into Texas, where they will be resettled here in the United States. And frankly, we could use more farmers. Another group, by the way, went to Russia a couple of years ago asking President Putin for refugee status there. And Russia certainly has a lot of land laying fallow that could be used by farmers. Now, here's the thing. The Episcopal Church USA, which is a denomination that has long since departed Christian orthodoxy in their beliefs. They announced on Monday that it's terminating its partnership with the United States government to resettle refugees. Why? Because of moral opposition to resettling white Afrikaners from South Africa. The presiding bishop of the ECUSA, the Most Reverend Sean W. Rowe, said, quote, "Informed Episcopal Migration Ministries, under the terms of our federal grant, we are expected to resettle white Afrikaners from South Africa whom the U.S. government has classified as refugees. This request, according to Rowe, crossed a moral line for the Episcopal Church. quote, in light of our church's steadfast commitment to racial justice and reconciliation and our historic ties with the Anglican Church of Southern Africa, we are not able to take this step, end quote. In other words, the Episcopal Church USA, which received $53 million from the U.S. government to resettle refugees in 2023, has decided it can't help the Afrikaners because they're white. The Episcopal Church, officially racist. And so now they've ended the contract, they're not going to resettle any refugees. Well, coming up, the worst car in history is making a comeback. I'll tell you about that next on 5 and 10.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can support the ministry of SkyWatchTV and our continued efforts to share the gospel of Jesus Christ throughout the four corners of the world and receive your very own copy of this urgent new work when you order the Curtis Liebel 4 Horsemen special offer. Not only does this incredible opportunity include Curtis Liebel's new book, The 4 Horsemen, The Winds of Theopolitical Change, which unravels the mystery of the ancient spirit of Babylon and the intoxication of the nations, but it also includes the best-selling book, The Great Inception by Derek P. Gilbert. This incredible masterpiece reveals the hidden cosmic war between God and rebel gods, uncovers the truth about the Tower of Babel, the Red Sea crossing, and the Nephilim. Derek Gilbert takes you on an epic journey through history, the titans of Greek mythology and biblical mystery that showcases the eye-opening battle for the throne of God. But that's not all. This special offer also includes the best-selling book, New World Order, Worlds in Collision and the Rebirth of Liberty by the legendary Terry James and Pete Garcia. This incredible work reveals the collapse of Western civilization, rampant corruption, crime, and chaos driven by a globalist agenda. This book warns of God's impending great reset to bring an end to the current ungodly age and usher in a magnificent transformation. Sold separately, these items hold a retail value of over $60. Yours now for your donation of only $45, which includes free shipping to all U.S. orders. So don't delay. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special opportunity, or you can visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the Curtis Liebel 4 Horsemen special offer now.
No, it's not the Ford Edsel. It's not the Ford Pinto with the exploding gas tank. It is the Yugo. You remember the Yugo? If you're old like me, you remember the Yugo. It was a cheap car available from 1981 to 1991, known primarily for its low-quality construction, safety concerns, and reliability issues. It was cheap, though, but cheap in every sense of the word. Well, a Serbian university professor, Dr. Alexander Bjelic, hopes to bring the car back to the market in 2027. He's got some work with the European car makers. Looks like he's going to partner with at least one of them to bring this back, and hopefully in a better form. The new design was debuted at the car design event in Munich earlier this month. The new design, which this is the original Yugo, by the way, from the 80s. The new one looks much cooler than this. Slim LED lights, large alloy wheels, and he is promising that when it returns to market, it'll be a fun-to-drive car that meets all relevant safety standards, which would make it the first Yugo about which that could be said. Relevant safety standards. Once saw a stand-up comic back in the 80s joking about people who drove the Yugo. They said it called it the Yugo because every time they stopped at a traffic light, they'd have to tell everyone else, "You go." No, you go. I can't go. I'm driving a Yugo. You go. This week on SkyWatch TV, our guest is Curtis Liebel. Don't miss this program. He's got a fascinating analysis of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Revelation chapter 6. They've been writing for a long time. It's a different take on this. You can watch the program right now at skywatchtv.com. It's also available over the air. Our broadcast schedule is posted, skywatchtv.com/Tariffs. channels, but we will broadcast on your schedule if you just add the SkyWatch TV app to your smart TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple TV, even Google TV, Android TV. Go to their app store, add the SkyWatch TV channel, and then we'll be there when you click the remote. We're on the internet too, youtube.com/@SkyWatchTelevision. Please subscribe, click the bell for notifications, hit that like button. Also at Rumble, rumble.com/SkyWatchTV, or download us to your smartphone or tablet. Our free mobile app brings all of our content right to you and bypasses the gatekeepers of big tech. And it's got some other great features as well. Even a tab there where you can donate to support the work at Whispering Ponies Ranch if you're so inclined. You'll find versions for iOS, Android, and Amazon Kindle Fire devices. And we have links to all of those app stores at skywatchtv.com/app. Now, a few events coming up where you can meet some of us from SkyWatch TV. Next month, Sharon and I will be in Indianapolis, actually Carmel, Indiana, just north of Indianapolis, for the Mysteries of the Bibleverse live event from Southwest Radio Ministries. Pastor Carl Gallups will be there as well. Sharon and I both speaking twice. Other speakers include Pastor Mike Hoggard, Mac Dominic, Micah Van Huff, who'll be an upcoming guest on SkyWatch TV. Fascinating stuff. The topics your Sunday school teacher didn't tell you about. June 13th and 14th. More information at marginalmysteries.com. That's the website, marginalmysteries.com. In July, Joe Ardis Horn, Sharon and me, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, Carl Gallups, and many others will be at the Go Therefore conference in suburban Dayton, Ohio. This is a gathering that we have come to love every year. The Go Therefore conference at Harvest Revival Center in Brookville, just west of Dayton. It is a wonderful gathering. Find out more, sign up for, joining us in person if you can't. Streaming video is available. Find out more and register at gothereforeconference.com, gothereforeconference.com. Then in August, Hear the Watchman comes to Springfield, Missouri with the Remnant Rising Conference, and just about all of us from SkyWatch TV will be there. Joe Ardis Horn, Donna Howell, host of The Donna Howell Show, Nita Horn, talking about the work at Whispering Ponies Ranch. Sharon and me and many of our friends will be there as well. This one is Friday, August 22nd through Sunday, August 24th at the Oasis Hotel and Conference Center in Springfield, Missouri. The Springfield Branson Airport is close by. There is a hotel shuttle. And if you're coming down Interstate 44, it's only 10 minutes from the new Buc-ee's. So, winning. Join us there for that. If you can't, again, streaming video is available for this conference as well. More information and registration at hearthewatchmen.com. That's hearthewatchmen.com. See the valley of the shadow of death with your own eyes. Sharon and I are convinced it's a real place, and we will take you there in October as we go back to Israel, October 19th through 30th with special guest Carl Teichrieb, author, lecturer, researcher. This will be a rolling conference through the Holy Land from Dan to Beersheba, as the saying goes, and we hope you join us. You can find out more information, get a look at the itinerary, and reserve your spot on the bus at gilberthouse.org/travel, gilberthouse.org/travel. Follow 5 in 10 online, YouTube at 5 in 10. Subscribe, share, click that bell for notifications, hit the like button, and on X at 5_in_10. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is 5 in 10 from SkyWatch TV.
The prophecies foretold of a coming Savior, one that would reach across the veil and set the captives free. Featuring Derek Gilbert,
UFO True Believers, the Ancient Aliens Prophets,
Carl Gallups,
the cherubim, the living creatures,
and Micah Van Huss.
The story of the giant of Kandahar.
At the Mysteries of the Bibleverse event in Carmel, Indiana, June 13th and 14th.